How's everybody doing? If you haven't yet, there's still some people popping on, so I'll be having to pause to let them on. But if you haven't yet, introduce yourself in the chat, drop your Instagram handle or whatever your social media of choice is. I do want to give like a little bit of a disclaimer. This is a social media training. So any of the stuff that we're talking about, it's really going to be the energetics behind social media. But I might say Instagram sometimes on accident just because Instagram is my bae. And like that's most of the time where I'm thinking about showing up. So that might be what I accidentally talk about when I'm showing up. But this is applicable to any type of social media account, any type of social media presence. I first of all want to say, like, I love that there's so many of you here because I feel like there's a lot of shame around like wanting some sort of fame. And it's like, we're just all unapologetically saying that we want to show up here and be seen in some way, which I think is really fucking awesome. So first of all, just clapping for you in that way. Before we get into it, I want you to drop an intention of what your intention is for the next hour together. I will share my intention, and I would love to hear yours. My intention is just to make you really excited about social media again, because I think there's so many rules and there's so many how we're supposed to show up and what we have to do. And especially if you're a business owner, you can feel like it's this thing you have to do to make more money in your business. And that kind of takes the joy out of it. It makes it not feel fun to show up, which you can still show up if you lose the joy, but it gets harder. It's like, think about something that you're excited to do. You don't have to force yourself to do it. You're just excited to do it. You're just excited to whatever the thing is. That motivation comes when that excitement is behind it. And so I hope to just kind of like re-energize you in the space of social media. But let me read through some of your intentions. So many good people here. I'm curious, how many of you is this, you've been to a live training that I've hosted before versus how many of you is this your first time joining? Oh, thank you for saying you love my energy. It's like the best compliment. Walk away feeling sparkly and liberated from the rules. Yes, I should have made that this freaking training's like tagline. It's so good. I want to refresh my social media energy, love, learn ways to be more confident and carefree on social media, let go of anxiety around being perceived, showing up as myself unconditionally. My intention is to have fun with social media again. My intention is to quantum leap into my next level on social media and integrate into my social media alter ego, love. Become inspired to engage with social media in a healthy way. Oh, we're definitely going to talk about that. Drink my little drink and soak up everyone's energy and then show up like crazy on social. Literally, cheers. Believe it or not, my little drink is water, and that's like kind of sad, but I've had so much Diet Coke today that I had to do water. My body couldn't take anymore. You're so nice, Jaleesa. Jaleesa is the true genius. She's my coach, and it actually makes me nervous that she's here. Connect, reinvigorate my love for social media. My intention is to spend time with all these women doing their thing. Yes, there actually might be some men here too. I noticed that there was multiple men who signed up, so we're here for all of it. Get pumped about how to get myself out there. Yay! Lots of very aligned intentions, I have to say. We're totally going to touch on all of this. Some first timers, some returners. Amazing. Okay, since there's so many people on here, I'm not going to be able to answer, like, get to all the messages. This is like, I just feel a little shy. I was not expecting as many people on here, but it's amazing. I love when there's lots of people here. Okay, so next thing I want to hear in the chat is, tell me how social media feels at the moment. There's no right or wrong answer. It could feel amazing. It could feel blah. No right or wrong answer. Like, it's not growing, crazy, boring, weird, tight, stale, scary. This could be like a poem. It's giving like Dr. Seuss. Halted, icky, like a different dimension, stressful, tiring, feels overwhelming and draining, screaming into a void, overwhelming, hopeless. Guys, we're going to shift all of this. We're going to shift all of this. That is my intention. Fun, but a little scary. Way better than before. I love it. Meh, clunky, confusing. I mean, there's a lot of like kind of similar answers. So we got overwhelming, boring, halted, like your growth is halted. A lot of that similar energy. So we'll move through that. Feels like a pool to jump into that sometimes I enjoy, sometimes I don't. Fun, but I want to make it sparklier, a little mundane. I got my mojo back. Ooh, love to hear it. I know I'm playing small. My audience wants more of me and I can show up more / better. Love. I also want to change that wording because you're actually playing really big. You're just going to play bigger. Instead of telling yourself you're playing small, you're actually playing really big. Some days fun, some days avoid like, and I think that's normal. And I really want to set that intention as you go through and integrate this content that we're going to talk about today. Social media isn't going to feel like rainbows and butterflies every single day. It's just not. And that's perfectionism seeking in some sort of way. So it's not going to feel like that all the time, but the goal is to get it to feel like that most of the time, to get it feeling fun most of the time. Fake. Oh yeah. That's a really big one, I think, for people. And I think that fake energy shows up because we're trying to exist in this box. We think there's these rules of how we have to show up. And so then we show up according to the rules, and it doesn't work because the rules weren't made for every single person. It was made for one person who said, this works for me. And then either they taught it that way or we picked up on it that way. And we were like, well, that's how I need to show up then. But that works for them. That might not work the same way for you. You might be able to take bits and pieces from it, but it's not going to feel the exact same way. So the next thing I would like to hear is, what do you think famous means? Maybe you don't even want fame. You just came to it because you knew I was going to be talking about social media. But what does famous feel like in your body? Recognized, love. Love that so much. Book sales, people listening, a mindset and energy to show up in. Yes. Widely recognized and respected. Please no. And that's something that's interesting. It's like if there's any sort of restriction around the word, I don't want to be the type of famous, like I wouldn't even say I want to be famous, quote unquote, but I love being recognized and I love having a big community. And so it's interesting to just look at what this word brings up. Ooh, like a household name, iconic, being known by the public. Love. Amazing. Okay, so before we get into all of this, I did want to say, we create these stories about how many followers we need to be successful in our business, and it's completely made up. And I bet I could ask I'm actually interested. Tell me in the chat how many followers it feels like you need to have a successful business. What's the number that you have in your head? We all have a number. And I just want you to put them in the chat so we can see how different it is. Because there's not one number of like, if you have 10,000 followers, then you're going to be successful. So put in the chat what that number is that it feels like, once I have this many followers, then I'll make how much money I want to. And I do want to say, I don't know if everybody in here is a business owner, but I firmly believe that in this day and age, like, one of the most important expanding things you could do for your life and your career is have some sort of personal brand online. Like, I think it's a way that we communicate with people. I don't think it's a thing that it's like, I think of it in the way of, this is like a very exaggerated metaphor, but like, think of when people were starting to write things down. There was certain people who were probably like, I'm not doing that. Like, I just like talking. I don't want to write things down. I don't want to learn all of this stuff. And that's fine. You're allowed to do what you want to. But in my opinion, social media is just a different form of communication. And it's just like it's just a different form of communication. And so I don't even think it's something that it's like, something to learn. I think it just is. And it's just the way that the world exists now. And it's the way that we keep up with each other. And you could go and talk about if you think that's right or wrong or whatever, but it's how reality is. And so to me, I'm not interested in like burning shit down. That doesn't feel like my path. I'm too tired for that. I just want to like show up and have fun. And so I want to hack the code of how to have the most fun and the least effort possible. And that feels like social media to me, because I could sit here and I have 100 of you guys here who are excited to learn about social media. If I was having to go and knock on doors in my neighborhood and say, hey, do you have a business? Are you interested in coming to this free training that I'm doing? And then did that to a certain amount of times to get 100 people to come to an event with me, that would take way more energy. And so I like to think of social media as something that is just making my life easier. And I think whether you have a business or not, it can make your life easier. But of course, if you have a business, it makes more sense for that. But let's see the numbers that you guys are putting. Interesting. So many saying cult leader, but like a good one, not a creepy one. I love that. So at least 10K, 1K, 10K, 10K, a lot of people on 10K. I think 10K was subconsciously put into our mind because you used to remember when you used to have 10K to be able to get swipe up on Instagram. So it was like this number. And I think that subconsciously has been so rooted in our mind that it's like that the only reason we used to shoot so hard for 10K is because of that swipe up. 5K, 10K, so a lot of 10K, 25K, 1K, 1K, 5K, 1K. So do you see the difference here? So interesting how 10K is a benchmark for so many people. Yeah, I wonder if it is that kind of subconscious programming that we didn't even realize. I've always been stuck that 10K is where it's at. 80K. I don't have a follower number, but I would love engagement. I had the followers before and they didn't engage. I want the community, but not master silence. Yeah, so that's exactly what I wanted to get into is it doesn't matter how many followers you have. What matters is that the people who are there are connected to you. So I had one of my biggest months I've ever had in my business when I had under 2,000 followers. It's still like a really big month in my business, even compared to now when I have 17,000 followers. And I can tell you from a person who, when I was growing my audience at 2,000 to the number that I have now, there's never a point that you're like, yes, I've made it. And talking to my business owner friends who have a certain amount, there's not a moment that they're like, yes, I'm finally here. I finally have achieved what I want to. The nature of humans is that we're always expanding and evolving and growing. And so you're always going to want more followers. But I think existing in the energy of realizing that that's happening without you having to try to be somebody different or try to follow these rules. Because if you're existing in this energy of you need to change who you are and change how you're showing up and change this and like show up for the algorithm and do this, you're existing in the energy of lack. You're existing in the energy of not having the followers. And so one of the best things that you can do is fully just embodying that the right people are there and they're the people that you need. My biggest periods of growth have come when I wasn't focusing on growth, right? Because if we're focusing on this like external, like grabby energy, it's not existing as if we have it. So there was something else that I wanted to, I want you to think about, I was thinking about when I was in like elementary school, and I remember like the popular girls had like 10 friends. And I was like, I can't imagine. Well, first of all, I'm an introvert, like a super introvert. And I've always only had like 1 or 2 close friends, but like 10 friends that you're hanging out with all the time that know what's going on, that knows what's up. I want you to think about however many following you have. And if you don't have a business Instagram account page yet or whatever, I still want you to think about your Facebook friends or whatever. And I want you to actually like close your eyes with me for a second and think about that number. I'm going to post a graphic on Instagram probably next week, like actually showing the number of like 50 people, 100 people. But like if I was in a room with 50 people, I would actually probably be like having like a panic attack, and I'm not exaggerating. Like I would be like, I don't want to be here. What's going on? Like that's 50 people. And you're telling me that there is like, I think we've just lost this, we've lost our connection to like how many people that actually is. And so even thinking 1,000 people, that you need 1,000 people to have a successful business. I haven't had like the past 6 months, I probably have gained maybe 100 new customers, but a lot of those people are just repeat people buying more things from me over and over again. And so I don't even think you need 1,000 people to have a successful business. And so I want you to really start looking at these numbers and understand that those are people with lives. And you're telling me that that person is sitting in bed watching your stories. Like that's crazy. It is so cool. And that is already existing in the energy of fame without you even trying to exist in the energy of fame. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was watching this is like so petty of me. I was watching some influencer stories and I was like, why would she think that we care about this? Like, it was just something random. And then it was like a ding in my mind. And I was like, because she thinks that we care, people do care. Because she assumes that people are caring about this, most of the people who are on her platform are going to be caring. At least 51% are caring because she's existing assuming that they care. And I think a lot of us are like, maybe, what's the word that I'm looking for? we're over the top self-aware. Like we're maybe self-conscious, and we're so self-aware of everything going on and everything that we're doing that we can just always meet our wanting to show up with like, well, why would anybody care about this? Why would this? As soon as you start assuming that people care, people are going to start caring. And it's literally that simple. And that's why when we have this opinion or this story that it's like, well, I'll start really showing up once I have the big audience. I'll start really showing up once I have 1,000 followers. That's never going to happen until you start doing that, until you start showing up as if they're already there, and until you start showing up assuming that they care about you. Okay, so next thing I would like to hear, and we're actually going to journal about this because I think this is a deeper one. Why are you afraid to show up online? What are you afraid of happening? And I don't want you just to say because I'm afraid of getting canceled or because I'm afraid of this. Like, tell me, why are you afraid? When you think, I want you to think of something actually happening. What is that thing that you're afraid of happening? Okay, I'll give you like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to do that. And also, we'll also do, why does it not feel exciting to show up online? I'll pop that in the chat and then I'll mute myself for a second. Okay, so Tiff, I'm not afraid. I think I'm just bored. Why are you bored? You can literally post whatever the fuck you want. You could post, like, you can literally post whatever you want. I was such the kid in like elementary. I was just a weird kid. I was a weird kid, truly. But I also think there was some of these things that are normal for all of us. Like show and tell was like the funnest day. I would be so excited. I wouldn't be able to like sleep leading up to it. Every day is show and tell. When you have social media, every day is show and tell. And so if you're bored, that's not an Instagram problem. That's not a social media problem, as is everything. But it's like, what would make you feel excited to show up and post about? My mom's energy makes me feel like an attention whore. Your mom can't make you feel anything. She can't. So, okay, she can't make you feel, nobody can make you feel anything, but can you, what's it called? Like silence them so they can't see your stories. I'm the biggest believer in nobody's allowed to be in my space that I don't want them to be. Nobody's, and they don't have to know. I don't have to block my mom. My parents are luckily like really cool about this type of stuff now, but like I can block an aunt, I can block or I can mute so they can't see my stuff. People are going to judge me and think I'm stupid. Okay, so what happens if they do that? I want us to take this down to, in your mind, realizing that that would be okay. Because I think part of showing up on social media is you have to be okay with the fact that there is a possibility of you getting canceled. Our fear isn't, a lot of times, I can't speak for you, but a lot of times our fear isn't of actually getting canceled. It's we're afraid we won't be able to handle it when it happens. We're afraid of what will make it mean about ourselves. We're afraid we won't be able to sit with that. And that's why sometimes, and I know we think that like it can be talked about, that you're like never supposed to dwell on the negative. I can tell you, if I avoid the negative and I don't think about the possibility of someone calling me an idiot online, it's playing in the back of my head. I'm still thinking about it nonstop, versus if I think about it and be like, okay, that would hurt my feelings. And maybe I would like go get ice cream and then I would move on. I would close my phone and put it away. The biggest thing that I remind myself with any fear of social media is like, it just exists here. Is this like embarrassing to have a screensaver you designed? It's like when somebody's like listening to their own music, which is not embarrassing. That's like a slay. Anyways, this is a portal that I can shut by just putting it down. It's a portal I can shut by pressing this button and it turns off, and then my real life is right here. Not that this isn't real life, but it's a different part of life that is so easy to turn off, actually. Like, you want to talk about real, not to say your fears aren't real, but like cancel culture back when people would fucking knock on your door and shit with like pitchforks. That's not happening now. That's not happening now. It happens on here, and we can literally go put it in, we can throw it out the window if you want to. Go buy a new phone, get a new identity. Like it really isn't as serious as we're making it, but we won't even let ourselves think of the possibility of it happening. just showing up consistently becomes exhausting. Yeah. And I would wonder if part of that exhaustion is because you're showing up in the way of what you think, how you think you have to create content, creating it, because I like to think of me creating content as it's just a habit. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I get dressed, and I take a picture and I say today's character. I don't think about doing that. It's not anything that I'm like, oh, I need to show up on social media. It's literally a habit that's built into my day. It doesn't take my energy. It's the same as I go on a drive. I feel like sometimes it can like give me energy. It feels like this checking in with my community and then being able to go back and get back into things in my real life. I never want to take the time to post and share. I feel lazy, afraid I'll come off as trying too hard. Okay. That's hot in my opinion. Super hot. I'll tell you what I think is super not hot is people who are sitting and judging people for trying hard. That is more cringe to me. You just have to take, like, we all talk about like death to cringe, beautiful, lovely. It can be kind of hard to full on kill that part of ourselves. I take my cringe factor and I mirror it back. So I'm like, oh, there's somebody out there who thinks it's cringe for me trying hard. I think it's cringe that they're sitting and giving me engagement and judging me for trying hard. I overthink and talk myself out of posts. Okay, I want to talk about this. Now we're going to move on to the next thing because time is going by way too fast. My medicine against overthinking is the moment I start overthinking, I force myself to post it. And it's literally like baptism by fire. And I want to really deeply double dog, triple dog dare you to do it. To just be like, anytime I overthink, I post to show myself it's not that big of a deal. And I think that's why social media feels heavy is every single post, we feel like we have to change everyone's life, or we feel like we have to get people to sign up from that one post. But I like what you could think about it as is there's like, I don't know if that's the metaphor I want to use. It's like a scale. And this person is just finding out about you and they're not sold on you yet because they just found you. They literally just found your profile. Maybe somebody posted about you, whatever. Or maybe you commented on something and they follow you. And that's the first like drop that's starting to get them sold on you. What's the metaphor that I want to use for this? Something's not coming to my mind. I'm just going to call it a drop and we're talking about an energetic way. Every single time you post, you're selling them more and more on you without you even having to try. You just showing up is reminding them of who you are, reminding them of what you're up to. And it doesn't have to, honestly, if every single post that you're doing is like changing people's lives, that's going to exhaust your audience. They're going to be like, bro, can we please just get a selfie? Now, it's definitely like a balance of the both sides of those, but I like to think of social media as more, it's just like showing up, checking in with people, reminding them that you exist. I can't tell you how many times I've hired a coach because they posted something random. And then in that exact moment, I had a ping of like, I need to work with them. Like, and it didn't happen because I read this insanely motivational post. Now, of course, those posts built in and built trust for me with them. But it was just that little reminder of like, oh, this person's still around. Oh, this person's doing this. Oh, this person's doing that, that aligned at the exact right time that I was looking for a coach, that ping, it just worked. And so removing this pressure that every single post needs to be life-changing, every single post needs to go viral, that's going to take a lot of the heaviness out of it. I realized I didn't really pause to let you guys journal. I'm sorry. People thinking I'm too much. Fuck them. That's my solution. That's truly my solution. So overthinking energy. Yeah. I don't feel inspired right now and I'm shifting as a girly and business owner. So it's like so random and I feel mad. I need to like have new branding and change it up and get pumped again. No, sorry, but no, you're not allowed to do that. I don't allow myself to do new branding until I've been showing up consistently again. I never let branding, I mean, I started as a brander. Like I started as a graphic designer and then moved into brand. Like I'm obsessed with branding and I totally understand the power that a new brand can give you. But I think there's a fake dopamine hit that we get of feeling like we're moving our business forward by creating a new brand. that I make myself work for that. I make myself prove that I'm actually going to show up. And so, Tiff, I don't think it's anything about your brand. I think it's you letting yourself show up and talk about stuff you're fucking stoked about. And this is something that I wanted to touch about with the different rules and the different things that we're supposed to do with Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Most of us because of those rules, we're not even showing up. We're not even showing up at all. And so maybe there are some rules that would help you, but you're not actually taking any movement in your business because you're thinking about, well, I need this new brand, I need this new thing. And so in my opinion, that's why it's always better to show up messy. If you show up messy, you're going to be taking way more action. And something I've been thinking about a lot lately is like how chance plays into manifesting and building a business and just the idea of luck. And I think there's so many things that go into this. But I do think when I think back on stuff in my business, I'm like, there's been crazy stuff that has happened. And I think that's because of manifesting, for one. Like, I think you can manifest and show up in this energy. And also, I think that luck comes more frequently based on how often you're rolling the dice. And social media, it doesn't cost 1 cent to roll the dice. It doesn't cost anything to roll the dice. And I can tell you, I haven't stopped fucking running my mouth since 2018. And there has been so many times that I've been bored and it's not been in a way, and I don't, that like is coming off very hustly, like, and it's not in a hamster wheel way. It's just that I'm showing up and sharing what I'm thinking about. I'm showing up to show and tell and sharing what I'm thinking about and what I'm excited about and what I'm learning about. And I'm connecting with people and being social with people. And every single time I'm doing that, I'm rolling the dice. And so I've won a lot. I've won a lot because of that. I've lost a lot because of that. But because I show up in social media in a way that doesn't drain me, and I figured out, and I can tell you tips. I'm going to end with like my 5 tips for social media. I can tell you tips of how I showed up and how I've built this, but then it's up to you to figure out what type of content feels easy for you. For me, video content is the hardest type of content to create. It drains me. It's so hard versus like Threads came out 2 weeks ago. I could literally, like, I'm not joking you, I've actually had to work on like my social media addiction since Threads has come out because it's been so fun for me. And I'm like spending all my time over there. But I believe fully in my chest that I could post for 24 hours straight on Threads and never stop talking. Like, that's how much stuff I have to say. And it's easy for me. It's easy for me to write stuff. If it's not easy for you to write stuff, don't fucking show up on Threads. Use it as a fun app if it sounds fun. But you have to figure out the place that you can roll the dice the most amount of times without it expending a crazy amount of energy. Okay. We've like barely got into like the first line of what I was talking about. Let me come into the chat and see what you guys are saying. If I'm skipping you, it's nothing personal. I'm like kind of internet famous today. Just kidding. Another hang up for me is I like to photograph my art pieces for accurate color and best images, but this makes it challenging to post all the time. Maybe I should be less perfect with my photos and just use my phone on social media. Yeah, I think it can be for sure being less perfect with your photos because your C+ is going to be your customers' A+. And I guarantee you your customers are just excited about your pieces and they're not going to be like, this blue is a little bit warmer, right? Like you want it to be correct, but it doesn't need to be probably as correct as you're making it. And also, there's ways for you to show up without photographing your art pieces. Like, can you show any part of your process or what you're looking at? I talked about this a little bit on TikTok, but I went to the Parade of Homes a few months back, and I really like home shows. I'm like such like a interior design slut. Like, it's like my most expansive thing. So anyways, I went to this home show, and sometimes home shows piss me off because I'm like kind of a brat and I'm just like, this is so lame. Like, this is not cool, especially in Utah. It's very kind of like basic style, which is fine, but just not my thing. And this time more than ever, I noticed there was like a few really cool houses. I mean, there was 1, 2, maybe. But the entire time I was looking at it, normally I feel like so expanded in the way that I'm like, I want to like live in this. Like, I can't imagine waking up to this. Like, and it just feels so clean and new. And I was like, this is so fucking boring. And we were walking outside of the house to like our car. And I walked past another house and there was a huge window and there was this big like architectural desk and a bunch of shit all over it. And there was like a dog sitting on like a crusty dog bed. I mean, it was a beautiful house, but it was like a messy room. And I was like, that's what I fucking want to tour. I want to look at that house. And if I was to go look at like somebody who I like to follow, if I was to go on a tour throughout their house, I wouldn't really care what it looked like. I'd want to see the random little Polaroid hanging up on the fridge. And I'd want to see, you know, what notes they were making in their planner. And like, that's how your social media people feel about you. Of course, there's the beautiful aesthetics. And I think that's what builds trust. And you can build that into your brand and still have you show up in a way that feels beautiful. But your customer doesn't want just another recycled quote that every single person has posted. They want you. They want you. And showing up as you, once you can show yourself that it's safe and do it in a way where you're not trying to prove anything, that's not going to take your energy. That's not going to exhaust you. What's exhausting you is the fact that you're trying to show up as somebody other than yourself. And you're trying to show up by somebody else's rule book that, by the way, isn't even real. Instagram doesn't have a rule book. They don't have one. And thank God, if Instagram ever creates one, even sometimes with the creators page on Threads, I like reshared something that literally the Instagram creators page shared of like, this is a cool idea to do for your stories. And I was like, this is the fucking tackiest shit I've ever seen. I didn't say that. I just said, don't do this. But like, it was so tacky. It was such a waste of time. And I was like, this is Instagram itself giving horrible advice. So thank God they don't have a rule book, because it would be getting in our minds of like how we should show up there. But there doesn't exist a rule book. You get to decide what the rules look like of how you show up on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And that's what's going to make it feel easy, which is going to make it easier for you to roll that dice. It's going to make it easier for you to play the game. Okay, so next thing that we're going to get into is this is going to feel completely random because this is actually what I planned on starting with. But now we're 35 minutes in and we're not. So I actually do want you to journal on this. I'm going to give you 3 minutes and I want you to go deep. And when you feel like you're done, keep writing. Describe your dream relationship. Maybe you're in it. Maybe it's something you're thinking about. How would you show up? How would they show up for you? And how would you show up for them? Just dream relationship. It could be romantic. It could be a friendship. How would they show up for you? And how would you show up for them? I'll give you till 39 after. Okay, I'm gonna read some of these answers. Keep them coming in. Okay, so Tiff said we enjoy each other's silly, goofy moods, snuggle, drink coffee together in the morning, sing songs in the car, dance in the kitchen, remind each other to drink water, and get pizza all the time. Tiff, you were the one who was saying you were bored, right? This is your prescription to show up on Instagram. That is literally it. It's literally that easy. Social media is a relationship. Social media is built on relationships. So there's multiple relationships that we're experiencing when we show up on social media. One is our relationship with the app. And so I think it's really interesting. How many of you guys have ever felt the feeling that you feel when you're just like, I'm consuming way too much? It feels like your brain is like melting. Like it is the worst feeling ever. And it happens after we're like doom scrolling or whatever. That's what I'm telling you I'm experiencing sometimes when I'm getting addicted to threads. I'm like, I'm consuming way too much. Think of it like a relationship. You're getting so much from this, even if it doesn't feel like you're getting anything, but you're consuming but not showing up at all. This is the most misbalanced relationship, how you're using Instagram. Another way to think of it, if we're saying I fucking hate TikTok, but then we're trying to grow on TikTok, imagine somebody being like, somebody you're in relationship with being like, I literally hate you. I don't understand you. I don't know how I'm supposed to show up for you. Would you be receptive? I would be like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, I'm never talking to you again. And I think a lot of us have that relationship with these different social media apps. We're like, I don't get you. You annoy me. I'm bored. Think of if somebody tells you that they're bored of you. And I don't even mean this because, like, it's like, okay, we could say this in a woo-woo way energetically that Instagram has an energy and you have an energy. But I also think if you just think of somebody that you're bored of, like think of a friendship that you're just like bored of, or a relationship, and you're not trying to show up for them. You're just like, oh, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it fits anymore. And it doesn't feel fun to show up in that energy. Like when you're feeling bored or you feel like you hate something, it doesn't feel fun to show up in that space. And then also, you're not only in relationship with the apps that you're using and creating content for, but you're also in relationship with the people that you're showing up and creating content for. And I think so often when we're using social media, we're using it in a really selfish way, and not like in a hot, sexy, selfish way, in like a very like victim-y, selfish way of we're only focusing on how can I go viral? How can I use this to make more money in my business? How can I blah, 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 blah. And it's just so one-sided. And there is nothing one-sided about social media. And I think that's why I really love it. I mean, like I said, I am seriously such an introvert. Feel so awkward inside of my soul, and like it's really hard for me to be social. I try really hard, like I probably really overcompensate in social situations, which I've had to teach myself how to be social through how I show up on social media. I'm like, you can be yourself, you don't have to try hard, whatever. But because of that, like Instagram is so fun because I get to be social in a way that I decide when I show up, and then I decide when I don't have to. And it's like with, I love having friends who have kids, because I get to show up and I get to be the fun and I get to spoil them, and then I get to leave, and then I get to go back to my freedom, and then I get to go back to bedtime whenever I want to. I get to go back to doing whatever the fuck I want. And Instagram can be like that, or social media can be like that, where it's like you get to pop in and show up however you want to show up, and then you get to dip out. But it's making sure that relationship is in balance, and you can just tell if it's out of balance because you'll feel like shit. Versus, when you're in a relationship and things just flow, you're like, this is so fun, things are going well. You're not thinking about how's this person showing up for me. When you're truly experiencing love, you're not thinking about, is this even? Is this 50-50? That's when you can tell that shit's getting weird. When you start testing someone and you start being like, are they showing up for me the same I'm showing up for them? That's when you can tell you're like not in your magnetic state. Versus when it's just blissful and happy in the honeymoon stage. And like, you get to decide to be in the honeymoon stage all the time. And especially with Instagram, you get to decide to be in the honeymoon stage all the time. And I say that you're in a relationship with this thing, and at the same exact time, it's also a direct mirror. Like it's literally, I mean, there's that show called Black Mirror that's about technology. Like our phones are actually a mirror. And so I think like any sort of social media app, your relationship with it is a mirror of something going on. Something going on. I don't know what it is. And that's a whole nother thing that we could go into. But we're not going to for the sake of time in this training. But when you're using social media, when you're showing up, you're in relationship with yourself, you're in relationship with an external app, you're in relationship with your people. And I don't want that to overwhelm you. I want it to simplify things. Instead of saying, what can I post today to go viral? What can I post today to please the Instagram algorithm? I want you to go, what can I post today to show up for the app, to create more beautiful images for people to see on the app, to create more funny things for people to retweet to see on this app? And I mean, I can even feel some of you guys, it's like, fuck Zuckerberg. It's like, okay, great, but I'm going to use his app and win the game and actually make it work for me. Like you can say fuck Zuckerberg and then also still be making a shit ton of money off of his apps. And so it's like, how can you show up and make the app better? How can you, if you're bored of Instagram, how can you make people be on board of Instagram? How can you make your audience feel like, I literally get on I'm picking on Tiff because I remember her name from her saying something, but it's like, I literally get on to watch Tiff stories. They're so chaotic. I never know what's going to happen. And they're so fun to watch. I have these feel good vibes watching them. I want to read some more of these things. A bestie who I can share inside jokes with. Yeah, that's a whole Instagram strategy right there. Having inside jokes with your audience is that is a strategy that I use so often. And I don't see very many people doing it, but that makes first of all, it makes your people who are there feel like they're part of something. It makes them feel like they're your friend. And then it makes the people who are new be like, what is this inside joke? I want to know. You know, when you're like hanging out with friends and it like maybe kind of bugs you, but you're like, oh, I wish I knew this inside joke they were talking about. It creates that same energy. Brunches and dinners with amazing deep conversations. Okay, going to brunch and recording a quick story talking about something that you and your friends were talking about. Do you guys understand how these are literally the steps of how you can show up on social media? Constant support, encouragement, fun, introducing each other to new and exciting things, consistency. Yeah. And I love that you put consistency there because a lot of us crave consistency in our relationships. But then this thing that we're in relationship with, we think consistency has to be hard or it has to be something that takes effort. But consistency in a relationship, when you love someone, a lot of times it doesn't really take that effort because you're just excited to show up for them. Surprising each other, taking things slowly together, having separate lives, but feeling like one soul. Love trying new things together. So much about trying new things together. Can you take your audience through you trying something new? That's so interesting to watch and so fun to see. Okay, I'm going to go back to my notes so that we can end with the 5 main social media tips. It's already been 50 minutes and I'm sorry. And this is truly my favorite topic to talk about, which here's where I give you a teeny little hint that something new is coming. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Something new is coming soon. I don't know when, where we will talk so much about all of this. But I'm happy to, at the end, if you have any specific questions about social media, even if it's a strategy question or whatever, we can talk about it a little bit at the end. But I want to first just go through my 5 main social media tips to give you some full takeaways. And before we do that, I want to touch on one last thing. A lot of us have a lot of fears around social media. And I think you can take it through the process of like, yes, okay, so what? So that happens, and neutralize the fear. And also the thing that I always remind myself, because I feel cringe all the time showing up. I think about this, a crush who follows me and what is he thinking of this random thing? Like I'm still thinking all of those thoughts, but what is so juicy to me is what I'm creating and what I'm using social media for. And honestly, just the connections that I feel by showing up there every day. But in the beginning, if you're not experiencing those connections yet, it can feel kind of like shouting into a void. And so I think what's important to remember during those times is you're choosing yourself. To choose yourself, to choose what you're creating instead of choosing to be bothered by whatever that random person is. Because I don't know if I ever finished my thought about the cringe meter, but it's like, in my opinion, I've created this idea where it's actually more cringe for me to care what they think than for me to show up and embarrass myself. Like, if you really think about it, like I actually feel like all of us would kind of think this if we can tap into it. It's so embarrassing to care what people think. It's way more cringe. Like, you're telling me that you're not going to live your best life because you're afraid what some stupid, I don't know, it always feels like an aunt or an uncle. Maybe that's just my story. Or like an ex, or like this person who doesn't even like, they're hating on everyone. They're literally hating on everyone who's showing up. And so you're going to hold yourself back from, I don't even want you to think about it in the way of like, I don't want the point of Instagram to be for you to make more money. I don't want the point of social media for you to make more money. That's creating a condition, and that's you showing up in the situation selfishly, which I just think puts pressure on everyone's backs, which I'm not a fan of pressure. I want you to show up on social media because you like showing up on social media. And that is what makes social media the funnest part of my business. That's what makes growth easy. That's what makes running my business off of like that. Social media is the main thing that I do in my business. It takes my most amount of time and it makes me all my money. Literally all of my money comes from Instagram. It's kind of shifted a little now with Threads, which is so random, but like, I'm not showing up on social media because I'm like, I want to make more money. I'm showing up on social media because I like taking cool pictures. I like saying stuff. I like talking to people. I like, and not to say that you have to like those same things. You just have to find the things that you like about this space. Yeah. Okay. Let me go into my last 5 tips, and I think we'll end with one last little exercise. So the question, this is getting into the strategy of things. Okay. So before I get into this, I want to say a big disclaimer. If you're not posting at all, I really just want you to focus on showing up and posting first, not trying to grow. Because what happens is if you're showing up trying to grow too, and you don't see growth immediately, a lot of times you're like, oh, it's not working. Like, I got to get off. Like, I'm wasting my time. We have like all these like little cute monsters in our head that are saying things that make us stop posting. And so I literally want you just to be like, I'm showing up just to show up. I'm showing up just because Kinsey told me to. Make me the bad guy, make me the teacher, whatever. I'm showing up just because Kinsey showed me to. And don't start implementing any of these tips yet, because if you're not showing up at all, I want you to take it by baby steps and start feeling proud of yourself for showing up. And then you can be like, okay, maybe I'm going to add more strategy. Okay, maybe I'm going to start growing. Okay, first is just showing yourself it's safe. But these are my main tips when it comes down to what I like think of strategically. First is, I guess they're all questions. I'm going to copy and paste these in case you want to copy and paste them into your notes or whatever. So first one, is it obvious why someone would want to follow you? It's not enough anymore. And again, huge asterisk, show up first, show yourself it's safe to show up first. We're moving into strategy. Show yourself it's safe to show up first, then we can move into this. Is it obvious why someone would want to follow you? It's not enough just to post cool pictures anymore. If you're really wanting to grow, you have to make sure that when your dream customer comes to your page, they are immediately like, oh my God, there is so much value here. If you're selling whatever your product is, they're obsessed with your product. It's obvious that you're selling it. It's like this energy of like it being so obvious. I think it's loudness maybe is what it also feels like to me, but it doesn't have to be loudness. Like, have you ever found somebody's account that you're just like, they're so mysterious and cool and like, that's not loud, but it's very obvious. It's turned up. The mysteriousness is turned up, or the shyness. Or I had somebody say on a training I was doing that they were like, it's hard for me to show up on video because It's like hard for me to be excited about something. Like I always have resting bitch face. And I was like, perfect. Just own the resting bitch face. I'm obsessed with people who are like that. I wish I wasn't so obnoxious and loud and animated. I would love to be like a fucking, I don't know, Jaleesa, what would that be? Like a Scorpio Mercury? Like, I don't know, some sort of like mysterious communicator. Like, I would love that. I'm not, I'm a Leo Mercury. So I'm fucking obnoxious. I'm loud. But all you have to realize is turn up the volume on who you are. Like, it's whatever you are, you're turning up that volume and you're making it obvious. And you're realizing, why would someone want to follow you? Is it for style tips? Is it because you're providing insane value? But you have to know that, okay? Do you make it obvious how they, oh, there's a typo in there. I'm sorry. And I just copied and pasted that. Just read between the lines. Do you make it obvious how they can take that relationship to the next level? So I followed people before where I'm like, I love them, but I have no idea how to buy from them. And then it just kind of fizzled out. It's like a one night stand or a couple months stand where you're like, it's a situationship, I guess I could say. If you are just showing up and posting content, but there's no opportunity for them to buy from you or join your email list or listen to your podcast or whatever, it's giving situationship. There's never any progression in that. And so is it obvious how they can take that relationship to the next level from the very beginning? Are you giving them opportunities to say yes to you all the time, even if that's just listening to a podcast? I like to think of an opportunity of them to say yes to you as like moving to a different space. So it's like, okay, I have Instagram, I have all these places, but then they can come into my home and listen to my podcast. It's a little more intimate. Or they can, you know, really take the relationship into the next level and buy one of my courses. Or maybe they're just tiptoeing in and they want to buy a mini program, but like, it's very obvious how to take the relationship to the next level for me. Are you making selling feel fun? Or are you following an imaginary rule of how selling has to look for you? I saw Barbie yesterday twice. I literally saw it at 3:30. And then I came home and I texted my best, I saw it with Morgan and Cami. And then I texted my best friend. I was like, we have to, she's seeing it next week, I think, for some sort of like influencer event. But I was like, I have to be the first person who sees this with you. This is like the most important movie I've ever seen. It's so good. I don't want to like, it's not that important. It's just really good and unexpected. It was just a fun movie. I was like, you have to see this thing. That's how I show up and sell. I show up in that exact same energy. I posted a TikTok about this, but I think we all have a certain way that we show up in relationships with people and like tell them about certain things. I try to get people really excited about things. I'm like, fucking, you have to see this thing. You have to go to this psychic. You have to go here. And so when I'm selling, that's how I sell. Versus I have other friends who literally will just text me a link to a shirt and they're like, you need. The way they show up is they post a link and say, course open for enrollment. It's way casual. It's way less animated. And so realizing how you show up with a relationship with people and like try to talk them into doing something, or not even talk them into, because I think that's where selling gets like a bad rep, but it's just like, that's how you're telling someone about something. That's how you tell them about whatever it is that you're selling. Are you co-creating with your audience and the platform? Instead of thinking about it in a way of like this evil algorithm that hates us, the algorithm is just like what Instagram is hoping for out of the relationship. Don't think of it as a set of rules. It's like Instagram just wants you to create content that people are excited to consume. So how are you co-creating with the app, whatever the app is, and your people? What type of content are they excited about? And then you, it's like this beautiful, like fucking threesome. Like what does that look like? Does that feel fun to you? And then does it feel exciting to show up and post there? Like I said, it's not going to feel like rainbows and butterflies all the time. That's just the reality of life. Like it's not going to feel exciting and fun all the time. There's something really powerful about consistency and the momentum that builds with consistency, even when you're not wanting to show up and post. And so remember that you can literally create excitement from inside your body. You can create excitement about anything. It's not, you're not a victim to whatever it is that you're experiencing. As far as your relationship with Instagram goes, you get to choose to change that. And all you have to think about is feel the feeling of excitement in your body. I actually want us to do this together right now. Just close your eyes and think about the last time you were really excited about something. Just feel it in your chest or wherever it shows up. Notice where the excitement shows up. And then as you breathe, I just want you to expand it deeper, wider. Maybe you feel a little butterflies. It's like very active energy. And then it's literally that simple. Like you can create excitement in your body and then you pull up Instagram and you don't pull it up and say, I'm posting this because I want this thing. You pull it up and you're like, I'm really excited to be posting on Instagram because I'm excited to be posting on Instagram, and watch how your relationship with it changes that way. The last thing I want to do, if you guys have any specific questions you want to ask, I have trouble not getting manic when I'm excited. Well, then maybe focus on an energy that is more, are you talking like real manic? Or are you talking like my manic, like me? Because I think your manic could probably be really fun, but if you're talking like an actual like bipolar manic, you could search for a different feeling. No, not real, but it is really draining. Well, maybe that's part of it. I can tell you, I'm going to get off of this call and I'm going to go lay on my bed and like literally lay with my face in the bed for probably a couple of hours. And that's how my energy functions. Like it's okay if you're tired after showing up somewhere. But that's what I think you have to figure out your rhythm of what that looks like. Because of course you don't want to feel exhausted and drained every single day, but maybe you're not searching for the excitement feeling. Maybe you're searching for more of a calm feeling or a energized feeling. What if the feeling that you focused on creating was energized instead of excitement? Because maybe the excitement is feeling a little forced or something. How to differentiate what to post on business page versus personal page. What is your business, Abigail? It definitely depends on what your business is. Meditation and mindfulness, I wouldn't separate them. I would have your personal page be your business page 1,000,000%, because people are going to book with you. People are going to sign up for what, like all your meditation and mindfulness stuff because you're you. I wouldn't separate them. Now, for somebody of selling jewelry, here's the thing that I actually feel. Do you want to know my true opinion? I accept it all in one space, personal and stories and professional on main feed. I don't think I think if you're a business that is selling a product and you have a separate page, that's more like your portfolio. But I believe what actually sells products a lot of times, especially in the beginning, is that personal touch. Eventually you can step out and you can pull yourself out. But I think every single business should be run on a personal page. And I think that's what it's moving towards. I can't tell you on Threads, like I see these businesses like trying to be cheeky and I'm like, this is so annoying. I don't want to see like Slim Jim's quoting about beef, but I would love to see Slim Jim's social media team talking about what they thought of the Barbie movie. Like that, like it's like there's this now that's like this authentic. It's like brands are like being edgy and they're like fighting with each other, but it's still so fake that, in my opinion, if I was to start a product-based business right now, I would definitely have a big personal element involved in it. But if I was to ask the question instead of giving my opinion, if I was to answer the question of what to post on business page versus personal page, this, like, my mind for some reason is having a really hard time wrapping an answer up with this one, because I don't think there's an answer, is the truth. That's what the answer is. There is no right and wrong of what to post on personal versus business. What excites you? I changed everything I said. Rewind. Men in Black, like laser over your eyes. I like showing up and sharing my lifestyle. It is so fun for me. I don't have to force myself to do it. I love people knowing what's going on in my life, knowing the people in my life. That's fun to me. What's fun to you? Do you want more privacy, or do you want to show up more on like sharing that side of yourself? Do you want to make it more about the product that you're selling, or do you want it to be about the message behind the product that you're selling? There's no right or wrong way to show up. For me, I believe in personal brands. Could be because I'm a Leo, could be because I'm attention whore, like, I don't know, but I like it that way. I have friends who have built and clients who have built massively successful businesses who don't show up and share their personal life in that way. And so I just think it really depends on, ask yourself what sounds fun and what sounds sustainable. Because to me, it still sounds fun for me to create like a really fucking vibey TikTok video of me doing my morning routine. It'll probably take me all year to create that because it will take so much energy for me to do that. It sounds fun, but I think social media is this mixture between how can you show up consistently mixed with what sounds fun. So what feels easy, but what also feels fun. I need this information because I have serious stalkers, and this right here is my biggest fear ever. What do you mean about that? That is creepy. But like, I need to know more information. I need to know more information about that. I agree. I personally buy from, because I need to know what are you needing? What information are you needing? Okay, I'm about to wrap up because I can feel my I'm getting like that white stuff on the side of my mouth, which is like a sign that I'm almost out of energy. It's like a gas tank puttering. Like businesses on Threads make me angry. I know, me too. And just people posting the same shit. I'm like, come on, it's not that hard. I think the Slim Jim posts are hilarious. Well, I still think obviously there's still people still like it, or they wouldn't be doing it, but I don't think it's on the cutting edge of like what's going to be relevant in 5 years. I don't think businesses are going to look, I don't even think they'll look like that in 3 years. I'm extremely sporadic on Insta. I show up for super consistently for a while when it feels fun and did great engagement, then disappear and feel imposter syndrome coming back. Well, what do you mean you feel imposter syndrome coming back? I've literally been doing that on purpose. I'm about to do that after this training. I'm about to post, bye, see you when my next thing is done. And it's been so fun. It's a little bit hard because I get a lot of like, it's really fun for me to show up on social media, but I'm really experimenting with this on again, off again. And I will say Instagram, that's one of the actual like tips I've learned is if your engagement is down, take 3 days off of Instagram. I promise you your next day coming back, it shoots back up. And so I think you have to show up every day and never miss a day. Actually not true. And I feel like it's playing with this energy of like kind of cat and mouse. Like it's like I have a whole course where we talked about like tapping into seduction archetypes showing up in your business, but it's like this kind of hard to get, like you're showing up and then people are like, where's Lauren? Like I miss her. And like that's not a bad thing. It's like they're wanting you more. Also, like they should do whatever they want. I'm obviously not their audience. I know, but I love to complain. I love to have an opinion about everything. I want my business to be me, but I'm so scared of stalkers. So sad, but real. Okay. Can you make your business you without, because I don't even know if it's safe for anybody to be like sharing their home address. Like, you know what I mean? Or sharing your house where you live. Like you can be you without them. And I don't obviously know the exact situation, but you can be you and share things while still being safe. Because there is crazy shit that happens. It's like where people will post exactly where they're staying on in a vacation. That's weird. So it's like you can have boundaries of how you show up, and how you show up as you. Showing up as yourself doesn't have to mean that you're sharing every single detail. I share a lot online. There's still so much no one knows. There's still so much of my life that no one knows. I'm getting like a kid in class when I'm like tipping on my chair. Weird energy, all right? But lastly, I'm sorry. And also you're a badass. And I would maybe tap into the energy of like a fierce warrior who's like, fuck you, I'm showing up anyway as myself, stalk as you want. Yes, I'm going to be safe, but like, you don't have any control over me. Help with a mindset shift around people caring if I share too much. Those aren't your people. So I think this is where it comes down to your priorities. And I'm using social media because it's fun, and also I'm using it to make money. And the person who thinks I'm sharing too much, they are never going to buy from you. They're never going to buy from you. The person who's mad you're posting too much, they're a hater from the beginning. And I literally do not want them on my profile. If there's someone who's going to be annoyed that I'm posting too much, I want them to be gone the first day they follow me. I do not want them lingering around. I don't want their energy in my aura, my energetic online aura. Like, I want them nowhere near me. And so when you actually think about it, the type of person who's like annoyed that you're sharing too much, do you want them anywhere in your space? Like, no way. And so that's why I'm like, anytime I start overthinking, I'm like, I need to post immediately as possible, because if somebody doesn't like this post and wants to unfollow me or whatever because of it, I need them out of there. I can't have them in my space. It like gives me anxiety, the thought of them being there. So I feel like I like to rip off the Band-Aid in that way. The High Priestess card. Wait, the High Priestess card for Leslie tapping into that, or just in general? Any suggestions for gaining followers for a podcast? What to post other than audiograms, quotes, breakdowns from episodes? Well, first of all, I'd be posting it on your personal page. You can have a podcast page, but like, I listen to so many podcasts and I don't follow their podcast page. I follow their personal page. Number 2, give your people a reason to share about your podcast, because I don't think you need to focus on growing followers for your Instagram, because that doesn't really matter. You're wanting people there for your podcast. And so I did this in the beginning, and I might do this again, but I said, if you share about my podcast, I'll mail you a sticker pack. So you could have a little sticker that you make that it costs $1. I mean, I know that's paying something to send that to somebody, but then they share about your podcast and then they get the sticker and then they're excited and then everybody else finds out about it. Even just putting at the end of your podcast, like, it helps so much if you tag and share in your stories. Like, it helps. Like, I think you just have to remind people how to support you. But then of course, I think it's shareable content. But I don't think it's necessarily quotes or breakdowns from the episode. I don't think people are going to share that. I think it's thinking about the type of content that your person wants to see and what they're going to identify with. So let's say you have a podcast about, my mind is like not working. Let's say you have a podcast about like health and wellness. What type of quotes is somebody who's into health and wellness sharing? Okay, maybe it's a mantra about, I am already healed exactly as I am. Sharing those type of quotes are going to get people to your page. But like I said, I would be posting it on your main page, and I would be more so just focusing on how can you grow your podcast. And you do that by people sharing it to their stories and by having guests on podcasts is a growth strategy. I totally just ghost. It's not strategic. Well, who says it's not strategic? Now it's strategic. I just took a wand, boom, it's strategic now. You don't have to say you're leaving. It can just be like, whoa, where is she? Now, of course, there's power in consistency. I don't want to say this and like, because there is power to showing up and people knowing they can depend on you. But first, we have to neutralize whatever shame you're feeling about how you've been showing up. Yeah, I always make content on trips. I wait to post when I'm at a new location because it makes me feel safer. It's Leo season. I know, not officially yet, right? Sunday. Oh man, maybe I shouldn't get off social media on Leo season. Don't worry, I'll still be on Threads. Yes. Okay. Oh, the High Priestess card equals listening to your intuition and feelings about how much personal business content to post. Yes. Yay. Love that. Okay. Any other questions? We're going to actually end with one last little exercise, and I'm just going to leave you to think about this, and you can think about it the rest of the day or the weekend or whatever. First, let me see what Courtney said. I'm stepping into my role as web designer, but I don't want to market to other designers. Like, they're not my ideal client. I want to do business content, but I feel dumb. Any ideas on what to post? I don't think you necessarily have to post business content. You just need to post inspiring content. So I love that you're understanding this. I see so many designers showing up and posting content that's only going to be relevant to other designers. And it's like, those aren't your clients. This is where all you have to post as a designer to gain followers is beautiful quote designs, saying things that people are going to want to share to their story. I remember quotes by Christy. I always use this because it's just, that was the craziest thing to watch. We've followed each other since she literally had 700 followers, and she has 2 million followers, and her designs are beautiful and she's been insanely consistent, but there's no like personal vibe to her. She's just showing up and creating quotes, beautiful quotes. And I say just, like, they're beautiful. But as a designer, you kind of have a leg up on Instagram because you can make beautiful quotes. That's literally all you need to be doing, because that's what people share. People share beautiful graphics, and they want to follow people who post beautiful graphics on Instagram. Amazing. Great. Okay, guys. Well, the last thing that I wanted to end on is I just want you to start thinking about what your world in Instagram would look like if it was externalized. So is it a big fluffy cloud? Is it Hogwarts? Is it a jungle with jaguars walking around? Like, what does that look like? And when you're showing up to post on Instagram, instead of just being like, oh, I'm just posting another thing, I want you to tap into that energy of that place. I want you to tap into what you're creating online. Yes, of course, it's important to show up and connect with your audience and be social, but that's going to happen naturally when you're focusing on creating content that serves them instead of thinking about what you're going to get for the exchange. So I don't even want you to think about how to connect or how to be social. I want you to think about how you can create great content for them, but think about how you're creating your own space and what that looks like and feels like energetically. And then imagine showing up to that space and creating your own world. When you create a world online, the community comes, the new people can feel it when they get there. They're like, I don't know what this is, but I want to be a part of it. I have no idea what's going on here, but it's fucking cool. And they can feel that energetically. So a last little fun thing you can be thinking about this weekend is just, what is that world that you're building? What does that look like? I mean, you can get as creative with it as you want to, if you want to get specific, but I like to remind myself of that from a branding perspective. It's just fun to think of it as like an actual place, a world where I'm creating an experience for people just by how I show up. And if I show up in this energy of like, I'm showing up like this is my own personal version of Disneyland, people can feel that, versus if I'm like, oh, I'm just posting another post to be consistent, posting another thing, people can feel that too. Okay, let's just all close our eyes, and you can like put your hands on your heart and call our energy back. And maybe even feel like, notice your relationship with social media or a specific platform, and see if you can just like send love to that platform and feel that platform send love back to you. I know this is fucking weird. Just try it. It's an energy just like you're an energy. It has a consciousness just like you have a consciousness. And then feel yourself sending love to your customers. And then feel that love reflected back to you. But notice with both of these, you had to take that moment to send love their way. Not a conditional love. Just feel it radiate and fill your body. Okay, you can open your eyes. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. It was so fun. Thank you for staying for so long. And like I said, there's something really exciting coming soon-ish. We'll see how soon, to go deeper into all this stuff, because I really do love talking about, I think there's so much in social media energetically and strategically, and it's truly the funnest part of my business. And I hope that this training has at least made it feel a little bit more fun, a little bit less serious. And yeah, that's it. If this was helpful, I would love to hear over on Instagram. Oh, let's take a picture of all of us. Actually, I always forget to do this. And now I'm like, let's do it. If you want to pop on your gallery, pop on your screen, and I can get you in a picture. Okay, I'm waiting for a few more people. We have to have the full screen up. I'll tell you when I'm about to take it. Okay. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. And hopefully I talk to you soon. Have fun with social media. It's really not that serious. Okay, bye.